Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. It is a Tuesday. That means it's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. We're hooking you up with a pair of tickets to go see the Jazz and the Lakers Thursday, December 18th at the Delta Center, 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-ZONE. Real quick, Ben, this might be a nominee for Bozo of the Week. Let me give you this real quick. You ready?
Yep.
Are you familiar with Quentin Jammer?
Yes.
The NFL corner?
Yes.
Out of the blue, and this is going back, this was yesterday, 7:22 yesterday. Nothing led up to it. I mean, maybe he was watching the game or something, but Quentin Jammer tweets out, true story.
Okay.
In 2011, I played completely S-faced drunk in at least 8 games. Now, that led everybody to look up exactly how he played in 2011.
Yeah, right.
And his stats, and even pulled out some highlights. Look at this one, Ben. You'll like this one. In a game against Buffalo, you'll see Quentin there gets beat and then almost falls over. They kind of jogs after him. Guy making a big play, and then he falls on his face.
Down. Yep. Giving it half effort at least.
So the reason that this seems like a complete own goal, I don't know what he was trying to accomplish.
Uh-huh.
Was he trying to say that he was better drunk than the people playing now?
Which I don't believe.
Was he just drunk then and decided to have confession time?
Yeah. Or is this a guy who was like, man, I had a real problem? Was this a warning? I didn't see this story.
But it led to all these retweets of everybody just clowning him. I mean, if anything, he brought a ratio upon himself that was probably not necessary.
And you're right, it was just random, right? This was
just
not
out of
like
the blue.
Not sitting in a podcast and being like, yeah, man, I went through it in my NFL career.
No.
How did I deal with my stress or whatever?
No, he wasn't responding to anything. He didn't retweet anything. Just out of the blue, cold, true story. In 2011, I played completely drunk in at least 8 games.
He said he was going through a divorce that year, and that led to the drinking.
I honestly don't care.
Yeah,
I actually
right.
don't care that he was drunk. That makes no difference to me. I didn't pay him.
Yeah, right.
I just wonder why he's doing this to himself. Ben, what was the worst thing you did in 9th grade or junior high?
Oh.
Just an example of, I don't know, so did you spray paint a house or
if I
something?
out of nowhere was like, I toilet papered this guy's house in 8th grade. Just out of nowhere on Twitter.
Ben, I spray painted a whole building when I was 14.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Who? Yeah. Why?
Yeah,
why?
You remember the stink bomb in Sea Hall? That was me. No, I don't remember that. And by the way, I didn't do that. But right.
I had a buddy who threw a stink bomb into the private room at a bar where Lindsay Lohan was.
Oh, no.
Because he thought it was funny.
It is funny.
But he has not. He's
not copying to it on
He didn't tweet
Twitter.
it out yesterday. Like, guess what I did? That actually might be kind of funny. That might get him some run. Anywho, there you go.
He was funny, though, in some of his responses. Some guy tweeted at him and said, no picks that year, and tweets out his box score. He says, I wasn't a pick getter, bro. What do you want me to tell you? Not his thing.
That's a defense.
Yeah,
that's a defense.
Can we talk a little bit more about the influx of cash coming to the University of Utah? I know it's not the most exciting story. I do think it's interesting, and we've heard a little bit now from Taylor Randall and what it's going to. And, we'll continue to learn more about this. The part of it I hate, though, well, I mean, it's not like I was expecting it to be anything different, was Taylor Randall. This is according to Josh Furlong's Twitter handle, or his Twitter profile, J4KSL, says, President Taylor Randall said, we're excited about this new innovation in Utah athletics. This will give our institution the upside it needs to thrive in the revenue sharing and NIL area. He says area. I wonder if that was era. He says pure capital. He says they weren't interested in pure capital. We were interested in a partner. And the millions of dollars flooding athletics will be to have a partner who, according to them, they are putting up the most risk, according to Taylor Randall. Otro this company investing is putting up the risk more so than Utah. Do I believe that? Not necessarily. Do I understand why the president would say that? Yes. Why I think it's interesting again is the first thing out of your mouth the NIL? This just goes to paying the players. That's all this is. This is all about making sure that the players on the field aren't compensated fairly, but that you're in the bidding war to be able to get some of these players. That's the only reason this exists. That's the only area or only desire to get into bed with Otro Capital or whatever this investment company is. It's just a further sign of, yes, how far away we've gotten from what the goal was of college athletics at one point, not terribly long ago.
Here's Guy Holiday on Twitter sending out a tweet about a half an hour ago.
Guy Holiday, a former receivers coach at BYU and Utah.
Yeah. Both of them. And he's still active on social media. He's a good follow if you don't follow Coach Holiday. He was a good interview when he was here.
Yeah,
Not a surprise he's a good follow. He says, people may get upset, but I was told the Utes were not competitive in NIL overall. Trust me on this because I don't put out rumors. The tide has changed. Things going to be fun in the state of Utah. You may not want BYU and Utah in your house, but they coming to kick MFing door in.
Good to hear from you.
No, I think he's probably accurate. But what are you willing to do that? What are you willing to? I mean, if that is the ultimate goal of the university and its athletic department, is to somehow compete with Ohio State.
Yeah.
Okay. Ben, okay. And again, if Ben took out a $10 million loan today, you could probably start your own newspaper.
Yeah.
And try and compete with KSL Sports.
Yeah. Well,
is that the best decision for you?
No, again.
Is that, but maybe it's a stupid comparison, but at what cost to pretend you're something you're not? At what cost are you willing to go to? And I don't buy the risk thing, but frankly, risk should not be coming into the conversation. That should not be a thing. It should not be a topic. But if the university is going to sell itself out to pretend that it's Ohio State, well, I guess good luck. But conceptually, I said it at the beginning of the show. It's inappropriate. I don't find this appropriate in any way, shape, or form. But good on you.
The other part of me that is very skeptical about some of this or has wondered about what are some of the behind-the-scenes conversations that were had going into this, I do wonder how much coaches said, it would be nice if we had a business that filtered all this money into us or a investment company, private equity, versus having to speak with the donors directly. Because the donors speaking to me directly want to see X player play. They want to see this guy on the field, or they want to know about injury reports, or they want to know X, Y, and Z. And if now everything gets filtered through Otro Capital, if now they have to deal with some of that, and I'm just free to do my job again, as opposed to saying, hey, pillow company, this is why this player didn't play.
But they're not turning away that pillow company. That's not changing. They're not giving any of this money back
No,
or any
not.
money
No,
back.
of course
They're
not.
This is not saving anyone money. That's why I brought it up in how much is Crimson Club membership going down? It's not. Tickets aren't going down. None of it's going down. The only purpose of this money is to compete, and by admission, is to compete financially with people that have more resources.
Yeah. So I wonder if, do you think donors now, boosters, have to go through Otro Capital to get to Utah?
No.
You think they can sidestep that and still have their direct line?
Yes. Mark Harlan is the CEO of this company.
He is, yeah. I'll be curious if they try and push people towards Otro Capital, which is actually silly because then there you've got a middleman that's taking a percentage. If you have a donor who wants to just give you $10 million scot-free without having to give any back to Otro Capital, just take that money. So maybe that doesn't solve that problem
I don't think it solves any problem other than they don't have the cash that other schools do. I hope, for their sake, this is not an overly emotional reaction to BYU all of a sudden having the upper hand.
And that's the other aspect of it and Christian and I talked about this while you were gone last week, which is maybe you haven't, but Christian and I have both been involved in like stupid eBay battles where you're trying to win an auction in an eBay whatever, and you end up, oh, I'll put another dollar on. I'll put another dollar on, and all of a sudden you're spending so much money on a product that if you had said at the beginning of the product you weren't actually interested in buying for $70. But because, well, I've already invested 63, what's 65? If I already invested 65, what's 67? Are you just looking down the street at the other bidder, which is BYU, and saying, well, they've got a $7 million player. They've got a basketball player that's worth $7 million. We've got to have a basketball player that's worth $8 million, just to show that we're staying competitive versus are we actually spending this money the best way? I think that's going to be a natural instinct that you're going to have to fight or prove that it's worth doing. We don't know if this is going to be worth it for BYU investing in their basketball program.
Listen,
to this point.
If it is an overly emotional reaction to BYU having the upper hand, I will say the same thing I did when BYU went independent because they had an overly emotional reaction to Utah going to the Pac-12.
Uh-huh.
Don't make a bad decision for a stupid reason. And I think it was a bad decision to go independent for BYU. Now it's worked out in the end, but it left a decade of desert in BYU football, and being in a league would have been better. I stick to that opinion still to this day. I don't think the Big 12 would have passed on BYU because they were a Mountain West school.
No, the Big 12 got desperate and needed good schools, and BYU's a good school.
Right. So I don't think one thing led to another. I don't think it was a smart thing for BYU to go independent, and it was because they had an emotional reaction to Utah leaving. It was. That's why they did it. That's why they did the timing of what they did. They wanted to have this PR thing where being independent was just as good as the Pac-12.
Yes.
And it was not. And I don't think that was a good decision. I don't think this is a good decision for Utah, if especially they're having an overly emotional reaction to BYU all of a sudden having the upper hand. Figure it out. That would be my opinion. But I don't know. I'm not an accountant for Utah, so maybe this just seems like a really desperate move to be something that you're not.
And it may have been a Hail Mary. I mean, if what Guy Holiday said is that Utah was not going to be able to compete at all, and if there is going to be a line that is drawn of the teams that have money and the teams that don't, and you're going to get left behind.
But compete with who?
That's a very good question.
Because you can't tell me that Utah can't come up with NIL to match Iowa State.
And
or give me another mid-level, or even somebody like Arizona State.
Yeah, Kansas State. Yeah, whatever.
Kansas State.
Yeah.
Okay, so Texas Tech has one guy, and you're trying to keep up with that? BYU has an entire tech industry that's feeding into it. You're trying to keep up with that? Or figure out a different way to do it. Figure out a way to be
what you are.
What you are, yes,
yes.
what you are. Which is what, by the way, ironically enough, which is what Utah has been good at since the early 90s.
Yeah.
In basketball and football. Basketball, a lesser extent now, but Rick Majerus had the program up there with Kentucky and Arizona and Duke and all these teams when they were in the WAC.
Yeah. Christian, you said you had a tweet?
Going back to what you guys were talking about with the boosters and where their money would go, this is from Ross Dellinger's initial thread. He said Utah is inviting its most prominent boosters to purchase a stake in the new private athletics company.
Right, but that's not everybody.
No, and but that is their higher ones.
But that's not going through the capital company. They're selling those shares to the boosters.
Yes. And then ideally the Eccleses or the Garfs or the trucking company can get their money back, or some money back or whatever in the long term.
But Steve, the construction company owner who wants to contribute NIL, is not buying a share of this thing. He's still contributing to NIL.
One of my big questions for BYU last week during the Penn State negotiations and bringing Kalani back and having this influx of $10 to whatever $15 million a year into the program is how much does the expectation have to change now? And, the interesting thing that the Cougars were doing is they were putting the resources of a Big 10 team into a Big 12 school. Can you expect to see similar results? And now Utah's doing that same thing. Utah is putting in NIL to the point of competing with the best of the best. So that has to be the expectation now, right? And how quickly does that have to be the expectation? If you're getting a 9-figure influx of money, which Taylor Randall is they're not willing to talk about any square numbers here, which, the $500 million is very flashy.
Said.
Does it end up being $40 million? I have no idea. But yeah, how do the expectations at Utah now have to change when you get this type of money coming in? Third place in the Big 12 is not good enough. If you're competing financially with Texas Tech, you've been as good as Texas Tech historically. You've been better than Texas Tech over the last 25 years. You've been better than BYU over the last 25 years. Up until the last couple of seasons when BYU got all this money, they were able to outdo Utah for the last few years, in part because the NIL came to pass, and BYU is ripe to take advantage of that. Now, if Utah has that same money, do they have to jump those schools again? Does it have to be the expectation every season?
How much of the, let's say it is $500 million, what percentage of that do you think is going to female athletes at Utah?
Let's see. What's 1% of $500 million? $5 million.
Well, I'd say it's less.
Yeah, I don't know.
And again, this being a for-profit entity is totally out of the purview of Title IX. So everybody comfortable with that too? Is this an end around so they can screw over the female swimmer?
Right. Beth Lanier is, announced her retirement. She's a legendary volleyball coach for the University of Utah. Lane Elliott's doing color and analysis for the team right now on their broadcasts.
So how much
people who built the Utah Athletics, the Red Rocks, obviously, I'm not trying to neglect them either. People who built this athletic program into what it is, this department into what it is, yeah, do they see any of this money? Probably not. I know there's some talk in here about it's going to be good for everybody. We'll see. We'll see how much money actually gets dispersed there. I would imagine not much.
Let's see. Our friend 801 Sports tweets in. He says Utah did not do this because of BYU. Because BYU all of a sudden got a lot of money last week. This has been in the making for a while.
It has been.
Yeah, it has been. Absolutely.
Yeah, they didn't. Yes, this is not a response to Kalani Sitake.
No, but Witt's borderline talked about it in the past. No, but BYU did not get the upper hand on Utah yesterday either.
No.
BYU got the upper hand on Utah the day that Brett Kavanaugh handed down that ruling from the Supreme Court.
Yeah. And then it's been steady that BYU has surpassed Utah in basically every major athletic, certainly the revenue sports. So,
I don't know. I also didn't say Utah did have an emotional reaction to BYU having the upper hand. I just put it out. I mean, it's a famous trope in the media, right? I'm just asking questions.
Yeah. No, you hope that's not what it is.
I hoped that was not what it is because I think that BYU made a mistake making a decision for that reason, and I don't know how successful this will be for Utah. In the next couple of years, probably sure, because you have cash on hand, but where does it go from there? And conceptually, I'm just not comfortable with it. I'm just not.
And look, the truth is it's good for our jobs.
Sure.
If AJ DeBonza is good for your and my job. He just is. BYU being in the college football playoff or being near the college football playoff because they're willing to pay players to get themselves there is good for us. Same with Utah. It's good for us. I don't think that's lost on us at all, but I do think we can take a big picture step back and say, what does this mean overall for the sport? And that there are players involved. There are people involved with this. And as I've said, I'm not willing to write it off entirely. I do suspect this is where it's going. Just because that's where the landscape is evolving doesn't mean it's a good thing. But I do think Utah is trying to make sure that they're staying competitive, which if you're a fan, I think that's a good thing for you. So if you're a fan and you're having a negative reaction to what I'm saying or what Jake is saying, I think that's actually totally understandable as well. You want your team to compete. And if your investment is I sit at home and I watch the games and I want to be happy on Saturday because they win, that's fine. I don't have any problem if that's your level of involvement. But beyond that, I do wonder if any of this is sustainable and if this is just creating some sort of financial beast that nobody can actually tame.
But just not to lecture that fan that you were just talking about, but it's that mentality that has led us to this current whatever college sports is I just want my team to win on Saturday and I don't care about anything else is exactly the problem.
Which we've done a little more than boil the frog. This has happened relatively quickly compared to what it looked like a few years ago. But yes, if you had said this was the product today 8 years ago and you tried to change it overnight, I think there'd be a real distaste for what the sport is right now. But because we've done it incrementally, people are accepting of it, but that doesn't mean it's good.
I'll give you a slow example. Academics used to matter. Mm-hmm. It did. But then everybody started saying, well, I don't care about academics. I just want my team to win. And if people say that over and over again for enough years, guess what happened? Academics don't matter.
Don't matter. What's the grade point average? Not GPA, but what's the other one that they used to talk about?
Whatever the graduation rate, but it's what is it? It's graduate. It's like NPR or something like that.
We talked to a college football coach, and he said that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
He said it doesn't matter anymore. Unfortunately, and he was bemoaning it. He was sad about it because that was a big thing. Getting kids to graduate college was a good thing. And look, giving kids lots of money is not the worst thing in the world. It's not like they're taking money from these kids and not giving them an opportunity to get an education. Conceivably, they could do both. I don't know if that's how you can expect 20-year-olds to respond, 19-year-olds to respond to money that's being spent seemingly just to spend money. Seems like a lot of this money is being spent only because other people are doing it.
I just think other things have value. You know, Cardale Jones says, I'm not here to play school.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be about school.
Yeah.
And that was a good thing.
School's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And people got an education and benefited their lives greatly.
It's actually good for the world, too,
It's
not
good
just
for
the
everyone.
individual.
Yeah. But yeah, Cardale Jones not here to play school. Okay, good times.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could have been some sort of mechanical engineer or something and changed the world.
You would imagine that 5 years from now, if he hasn't said it already, Cardale will say, I wish I'd taken a different approach to that. You know?
All right, stay tuned. Cole Bagley's going to join us next. We're going to talk some Mammoth hockey. It's Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I can't hear this song without thinking of, like, the best radio promotion stunt ever. There was a radio station in town that was going to switch formats back in the early 90s, and they were going to, like, an oldies station or whatever. And in the 2 weeks leading up to the new format, they discovered that this song was the most played song of all time. And so they just played this song 24/7 for 2 straight weeks.
Oh. Okay.
Which was funny. If you ever... Oh, no. It was Louie Louie, not
Louie.
Wooly Bully.
Okay.
Dang, wrong song. My bad.
Okay.
All right, that anecdote wasn't as good. All right, let's talk some Mammoth hockey. We also want to remind you about RGS Exteriors. Join Hanson Scotty coming up tomorrow at RGS from noon to 3, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. He covers the Mammoth for KSLSports.com. He's our friend Cole Bagley with us on Jake and Ben. What's going on, Cole?
How much are you guys?
Doing well. Another loss last night for a team that, I don't want to say spiraling. You know, they've been able to stop the bleeding at points, but I guess the fear is even when they have a 7-0 win and it feels like the ship is righted, it immediately hits another iceberg. So what do you make of what's happening right now with the Mammoth?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at those 2 wins that they had last week over the Ducks and over Vancouver, Vancouver's the worst team in the National Hockey League, and the Ducks were playing their third and fourth string goaltenders. So, you know, I don't think it's unfair to say that this team is spiraling, and you know, it's kind of what it looks like on the ice. You know, I think I've counted 5 or 6 broken sticks over the last week or so. You know, during games as guys are getting frustrated, and you know, I think what stands out to me, especially after last night, is you know, last night wasn't a coaching problem. You know, during morning skate, you know, we talked with head coach Andre Tourney, and he told us exactly how the Kings were going to attack them, which was they were going to dominate the neutral zone, and they were going to be very opportunistic, and that's exactly how they beat the Mammoth last night. And, you know, we talked to Keller after the game, and he even alluded to the fact that, look, the coaches had us prepared. We just didn't do what they asked us to do. We didn't execute properly. So, yeah, it seems interesting. It's a lot of obviously some high highs to begin the year, but there's been a lot of low lows recently.
What do we know about Logan Cooley's injury, and how much is that going to impact things?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, starting next season, he's the highest paid player on the roster. I'd say he's probably the most dynamic player on this roster. Their second line center. He's obviously young, but he showed, you know, spurts of absolute brilliance this season with a hat trick and then a 4-goal game. So it's tough to lose a player like that. In terms of his injury, you know, out indefinitely is tough. I don't know if you guys saw, you know, the injury that happened that took place. You know, he ran into the post at a really high speed, and his leg just bent a really awkward way. That you know, of my own speculation, you know, leads me to believe that this is more, you know, something in terms of the ligaments as opposed to a bone, especially with them saying out indefinitely, right? I mean, If it was a broken bone, we probably would have had a time period of 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks. Whereas right now, basically what they're saying is, look, he's out indefinitely, which means we don't know, the extremity of the injury. So, hopefully in the next week or two, we get some more clarity as they continue to try and figure things out for him. But, right now he's out. They don't know when he's going to be back. So they've got to figure things out quickly, and they need other players to start stepping up.
Lawson Krause also got banged up last night. What happened there?
Yeah, it was really strange. He came back out, and I believe he played the rest of the game. But he was just forechecking, chasing the puck, went around the net, and then I don't know if he caught an edge or what exactly happened, but his knee kind of buckled, and then he didn't put any weight on it, went straight to the locker room. I believe that was during the second period, but he came out. And played more minutes. So I would assume.
Cole Bagley with us here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Cole, if the Mammoth are going to reach expectations, what do you think is missing? What aren't they doing?
Well, first of all, and again, I go back to the conversation we had with Keller last night. They're not playing offense the right way. If you watch the successful teams, if you look at what successful hockey is right now, it's generating traffic, it's getting bodies to the net, it's moving the goaltender side to side. And it's playing bully-style hockey. That's why the Florida Panthers have won back-to-back cups. That team has arguably bested two of the most skilled players, if not the most skilled player to ever play the game, in Connor McDavid, 2 years in a row, because they've just bullied their way to a Stanley Cup. And Utah needs to do more of that. That's not what they're doing right now. And like I said, Keller explained to us last night, how do you find consistent offense? And he said, look, we're trying to do too much. We're not looking at our first options. That you need a guy in front of the net, you need a guy in the slot. That's how you generate consistent offense. And so I think they need to play more structurally sound. They need to kind of go back to the basics and do what works. But at the same time, there's a lot of players on this team who their production is down from a season ago. Clayton Keller, I'm going to give him a pass just based on what he's gone through recently. But he put up 90 points a season ago. He's on track for about 70. Jack McBain, who signed a $4.25 million AAV contract, he's only got a handful of points. I want to say 4 or 5. He finished last season with almost 30. So he's down in terms of production. And then Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley just haven't quite taken the step that I think a lot of people were expecting. 2 years ago, they both put up about 40 points. They came into last season, they both reached about 60. And so the anticipation was, look, they're going to take another 20-point jump. Well, that just hasn't happened. And obviously goaltending is down pretty significantly as compared to last season. And so Utah may be looking at some external solutions. This may be a situation where, I know for a fact that Bill Armstrong has told this team, the expectation is playoffs or bust. We will not settle for anything less. And the way that they're playing right now, that's not going to take place. So they might need to start looking at the trade market and seeing if they can't acquire somebody, who's going to help them right the ship.
Cole, we appreciate all of your work. Thank you very much, bud.
Thanks, Cole.
Thanks, gentlemen.
There you go. Cole Bagley covers the Mammoth for KSLSports.com.
Funny dynamic happening with the Mammoth here, which is I'm sure Bill Armstrong, Andre Tyranny, who have been doing this for 5+ years now, have this desire to get this team to the playoffs. They've been going through this rebuild dating back to Arizona for a long time. In Utah here, it's not felt that long. They had a fun first season. I think it was pretty successful. They didn't make the playoffs, but I thought they were above 500, had a pretty fun team. And this year, I think they probably could have coasted on that, but they did set the bar of making the playoffs, and they went out and they made some aggressive trades, and they paid some guys in the offseason. And that did set that bar, and now if they fall short of it, I think there's going to be a kind of funny reaction to it, maybe more so internally than externally. I wonder if they're putting undue pressure on themselves, which, I do. I like when organizations pressure themselves to succeed as opposed to just taking advantage of, we're a new team or we're in a new city or whatever, something silly like we got new jerseys and that's enough for people, a new team name. But I do wonder if it's not I wonder if it's incongruent with how the fan base feels or expects.
All right, we'll wrap up the show. Coming up next, Ben, I think I've got a foolproof way to make millions of dollars.
Oh, I love that idea.
I don't know if
Christian, you in?
I don't know if I should share it on the radio,
probably.
but I think I've got an idea.
Let's do it.
Stay tuned. Wrapping up next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my.
Jake and Ben want to remind you about Minky Couture. Get the best blankets and gifts ever. Save 50% this holiday season with promo code ZONE50. Shop online at minkycouture.com or visit any of their 6 locations. Minky Couture. It is a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Let's give away some tickets. Go ahead, Christian.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the 3. He hits! Oh, don't do me like that!
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. You're going to go see the Jazz and the Lakers on December 18th at the Delta Center. 801-575-ZONE. All right, Ben. I think we can make millions off this.
All right.
Well, this is my money-making scheme. And I'm going to go to a story, and then I'll explain, all right? So this, a woman who's 72 years old, her name is Mary Carol McDonnell. Okay. Have you ever heard of the McDonnell airline manufacturer? I think it merged to be McDonnell Douglas, McDonnell
of course.
Airline Fortune. All right. Well, Mary Carol McDonnell went into a bunch of banks, said, give me some money. Mm-hmm. Said, I've got an $80 million trust fund from the McDonnell Airline Fortune. Various banks gave her $30 million.
Wow, good for her.
Turns out that her name, yes, is Mary Carol McDonnell, but not that McDonnell.
Not that one.
So she defrauded $30 million from various banks just by walking in and saying, you heard of the McDonnell Airplane Company?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, that's me. Now give me some dough.
Is there a real Mary Carol McDonald that's an heir in the family?
I don't think
or
so.
She just used straight the last name?
Straight McDonald.
Wow,
You just straight use the last name, steals $30 million, and then absconds to Dubai. And she is currently on the FBI's top 10 most wanted.
Okay.
But $30 million bucks.
I'm into it.
Lives in. So here's what I'm thinking, Ben. The Scott Sunglass Company has got to be worth a dang fortune, right?
Yeah.
Or even I could go with the Scott Tissue Paper Company.
Okay.
But I like sunglasses more. So I think I'm going to go the sunglass direction. They also make ski poles.
Okay. I'm trying to find out.
But do you think if I marched into Zions Bank right now and said, "Hey, my name is Jake Scott,
wearing Scott sunglasses,
heir to the Scott Sunglass fortune. I have a $100 million trust fund." Do you think they'd give me millions of dollars?
I bet if you went to enough banks, maybe.
How, in all seriousness, how does a serious bank not do any sort of diligence on somebody who just comes in and claims that they're an heir to the McDonnell airplane fortune? And she did $30 million.
Yeah, I don't want to dismiss that people around the world and the country and in your day-to-day interactions are actually very good at their jobs. But there are a lot of people who are also very lousy at their jobs.
Just rubber stamping millions of dollars out the door?
Oh, she says she's the McDonald company. I looked up the McDonald company. She's got X, Y, and Z papers. I don't know where they come from, but we'll give her some money. I also like that at 72, there's a chance she kind of gets away with this. She's lived the best part of her life.
She's in Dubai. I don't think she's going to come back.
Yeah, she's going to go hide somewhere. So
I'm sure she picked Dubai because they can't get her out of Dubai.
Yeah, I think you should try it. You should try and defraud a bunch of banks. Yeah.
I don't know. Is there an Esparza company out there?
Esparza Tires in where are you from?
Brigham City.
Brigham City.
I'm the heir to the $10 Esparza Tire.
I mean, you guys are making a bunch of money. You're ripping Scotty off on the tires. So, yeah, you guys are doing just fine.
I mean, Anderson, there's got to be plenty of
I'm
Anderson
looking it up,
fortunes,
and it's
fortunes
bizarrely
out there.
not. There's not like a, big box store called Anderson's or anything. I'm trying to figure out how I would get in on this. Probably have to be personnel.
Oh, there's got to be like an Anderson in Hollywood that is worth $1 zillion.
I would think so. I thought this situation was going to be a woman who had the same name, went and just said, I'm Mary Carol or whatever her name is, McDonald. And you Google Mary Carol McDonald, there's just not a lot of information about her other than she's worth X billion dollars. And they're like, yeah.
No, this is just some gal who's like, my last name's McDonald. There's a McDonald fortune. Hey,
give me a share.
Give me some money.
I'll pay you back.
What a wild story.
Yeah, good for her. Crafty.
The Scott Sunglass fortune.
I wonder if those companies are actually worth any money. Sunglasses and things like that. Some are.
Well, Maui Jim
probably does fine.
Well, they sold though. They're like Oakley or something.
Yeah, Oakley probably does okay. But some of those companies got to be just taking out credit card debt over and over. Not McDonald, not Mary. She's doing great.
Oh, well, like what's the flamingo one you can get at REI, and you think they're just like taping it together?
Some of them got to be. Maybe not that one specifically. I'm not trying to.
You're not trying
get
to
myself in trouble
to downplay anybody there.
Yeah, there's got to be some businesses that are just faking it.
Hanson, Scotty G are coming up next. We'll
Thanks,
talk to
Christian.
you tomorrow on Jake and Ben 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.